Thanks for listening to the AZ12 podcast. I'm your host, Mike Luke, joined by William Brad Ellis. Arizona falls in the last second to BYU. I have mixed opinions on this game, Brad. This is a game that I thought that, BYU played better than Arizona. Arizona also got jobbed at the end of the game. That's not a foul that's not a foul call that you make on Trey Townson. Granted, Arizona did basically decided that we're going to do what we did again and just throw a 3-quarter pass that makes absolutely no sense. But Brad, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, look, here's the thing. That's not a case of you don't call it then. That's a case of that's not a foul. And that's the difference. If he had hipped him a little more or he had hacked him, you make that call. I'm not one who believes the defense should get to do extra hacking late in games.
Right.
If it's a foul, it's a foul. If it's not, it's not. If it's borderline, then yes, tie goes to the defender. That wasn't a foul. Granted, I see BYU fans complaining about the Caleb Love foul. I didn't look closely enough at the 3, but then he had the one. I thought it was an and one. BYU fans don't think it was a foul. It was a made layup either way. So, whatever. But that's the problem. The problem was this was a horribly officiated game throughout, especially at the end.
Right.
There was one sequence where Arizona shoves the guy, misses the shot, tips the ball, 2 more shoves and a BYU travel, and none of those calls were made. It was just not well officiated down the stretch. Is that the Tony Padilla effect? Probably. But at the end of the day, Arizona did 3 things really poorly, and they were all on the defensive end for the most part. 1, they couldn't defend the 3. They shot 45% from behind the arc. 2, they could not defend after a timeout. And 3, when Arizona turned out over the ball, and it wasn't egregious, it was a little high, 14, but I think BYU scored 20-something points off those 14 turnovers. That's just too much.
Right.
At the end of the day, yes, I think BYU outplayed Arizona, and Arizona still probably should have won this game in a weird way, because Arizona played really well offensively, but when they did turn over the ball, it led to points.
Yeah, and again, I've been battling. I lost my voice a little bit. Patrick Stark, I saw that. Oh, we got a super snap from H Fuchs. Let's see what do we got here. BS, excuse me, BS loss. Refs won that game. Also watched The Rock, and I couldn't tell if it was Sean Connery or Mike Luke. Welcome to The Rock. All right. Yes. Let's see. Andy Bryant put it very well. I'm going to address this once. Lost Highway only cares about Trey Townson. Which is such an odd thing, but whatever. All right.
Here, let me also say this. Credit Trey Townsend, who had another crap game. He sucks.
Yeah.
But made a great defensive stop there because KJ Lewis fouled out. And then I'm not convinced that's the play Tommy called, to be honest. And if it is, you can't just throw a blind. It would look like a blind pass.
Right.
I think Vasar was option 3. My guess is you trying to get it to Bradley or Love with some momentum. But why is Townsend the guy inbounding that ball?
I don't know that. That one was that was bizarre to me. We're going to get to that in a second.
I get it. KJ Lewis out of the game probably changes what you do, but has Townsend inbounded the ball at all this year?
Right, and that was just a Hail Mary. That was just throwing the ball up there and just hope. Right, yeah.
Even the one against Kansas State, there was someone in the area, and it was he just put a little too much mustard on. This one, if he put too much mustard on, he used 3 kinds because that went over Vasar's head. And that's the other thing. If that's a play he has not rehearsed, and you have to have him inbound the ball because KG Lewis is out, then you can't do a difficult play like that because that. The baseball pass to midcourt, that takes a lot of work. I mean, that's not an easy play for most guys.
Right. All right, let's talk a little bit about the defense, though. Arizona's defense was atrocious throughout this game. Now, again, at the end, that was it was a good defensive. But BYU clearly wanted to spread Arizona out. And BYU, what I don't understand, and they started doing this at the end, I don't understand Tommy Lloyd's pick and roll defense. It is always to sag, and BYU was just eating them alive off of that. Again, I don't need Sean Miller necessarily where you're going to hedge out to 98 feet or 94 feet, whatever, but I don't understand the pick and roll defense. It makes absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that frustrated me tonight was the over-helping, leaving shooters open. Because really, they don't have many guys who can drive.
Right.
Denham can a little bit. He got benched.
Right.
The kid who made the 2 free throws at the end, he's a decent driver.
Right.
But they don't have guys who explode to the hole.
Right.
And that's to me, yeah, guard the shooters. Don't let them. I mean, again, 45% from behind the arc. And it's not like they were 2 of 5 to do that. They were
Right.
14 to 31
Right.
and Arizona didn't rebound as well as they normally. I mean, they were plus 11, but they gave up some on the offensive end that they normally don't do. And again, it's just curious officiated game. The other one I want to point out is there was the and one play.
Right.
Where KJ actually grabs him before he 2 feet away from the basket, literally hugs him, and they don't call it, but then they call the and one, and now the guy missed the shot, so it didn't matter. But it's just, again, I'm not going to blame the officials because Arizona put themselves in that position by not putting away a team that they're better than.
Right.
But again, it's hard to adjust. Again, it was bad both ways, but that's hard to adjust to. But Arizona has to because you're going to get those nights in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that's going to be the case. That's going to be the way that it is. I got to give Caleb Love a lot of credit in this game offensively. Listen, at the end of the day, Caleb Love's going to be that one that's going to make, Arizona, when the chips are down at the end of the game, Caleb Love's going to be that guy. And Caleb Love came up big. Arizona lost, obviously, but Love was huge down the stretch, getting free throws, making a three, getting to the bucket, making a lot of different plays. Caleb was big. Again, we beat him up at times, but he was big in this game.
No, and he was big late.
Yes.
He had the 3-pointer. He had, I think he was 4 for 4 from the line, maybe 3 of 4. He had that drive that, again, I think was an and one, but at the very least, it was a clean look. He blew by the guy and forced him to foul if he fouled early. He played good late. Again, did he have a great defensive game? No, he didn't, but no one did. So it's hard to single him out, but he shot well, particularly late, where he really, the average came up because I think he hit 3 or 4 of his last 4 or 5 shots. So again, it was very good evening for him, just, not enough.
Right. And that's kind of where we're at that. It just wasn't good enough. Let's talk a little bit then about the turnovers. That's the other thing that Arizona, you got to figure it out. Arizona has got to figure out or what they're doing with the turnovers, because again, you gave up 20 plus points in the turnover department. That can't happen. And again, a lot of these ones are just lazy. And as we talk about it, they're pick sixes going back the other way each time. That can't happen.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's not the number of turnovers, because 14 in a game where you score 95 is not a bad number. Lute used to say 12 to 14 was his number. Now I know Tommy wants to be 10 to 12.
Right.
But the problem is, yes, it was 20 something. It was several, again, easy buckets. And, again, that's normally what KJ Lewis does to other people. Love had the dunk off of one of those. But that's the problem. It's not just that you're turning over and losing possessions. It's that you gave up a lot of points off of them.
Right. Yeah, and that's the problem. All right, we got Andre Veras in here. Tommy needs to take some lessons on out of time plays from the BYU coach. That dude drew up some great plays out of timeouts. He got whatever he wanted. And I think that's,
but the weird thing is,
go.
Yeah, I mean, they were well designed, but some of them, they kept talking about, but a lot of those buckets were timeouts in the backcourt.
Right.
So it's not like, Miller used to do that really well with a couple seconds left on the shot clock and you're under the basket. A lot of those inbound passes came from midcourt, half court, even under the basket on the opposite end. So, it wasn't just drawing up plays. Arizona just looked unprepared out of timeouts.
Right.
And that's not necessarily a coaching thing. And Tommy's decent about drawing up plays out of timeouts too. So, but no, BYU, they were opportunistic when they were hot as well.
Yeah. And this is a game too that if you were Arizona, you're squarely looking at it. And I think that's what's so disappointing about this. You're squarely looking at, a solid 3 seed and possibly moving into that 2 seed realm. If you win out, this is a game that you needed. Again, you're at McHale. This is your 3rd loss of the season at McHale. That's too many. And again,
especially to BYU. And again, BYU's a good team.
Right.
You lost to Houston and Duke. Houston and Duke may be playing for a national championship or a Final Four.
But this is the one that just can't happen.
7
did it? How much does it bother you too that they were able to basically get the shots that they wanted? That's something too in this game that kind of bothers me.
Yeah. No, I mean it was just a bad defensive performance. Again, BYU was not much better. Scored 95 points and lost.
Right.
So yes, but this is one that again I think it was Wilner put up. It doesn't hurt Arizona. It does hurt Arizona.
Right.
Arizona's probably now more likely to get a 4 or 5 instead of a 3, and they still had a chance at a 2. That's gone.
Yeah.
And this isn't a bad loss, but you needed a couple more good wins. And and again, the chance that Arizona goes, 4-1 now down the stretch, trying to get 2 of the toughest road wins in the conference. And I know Kansas is not as good as they should be, could be, have been, but you're still playing at Fog Allen.
Yeah, and it's senior night as well. All right, now let's get to now it is time for the Green Valley Decorative Rock Star of the game. Green Valley, welcome to the Rock. All right, now you might say to yourself, Mike, Green Valley Decorative Rock, is that just in Green Valley? No, it is not. Get it out of there. It is not. All right.
I can walk there in 4 minutes.
Yes, exactly. That's where you want to do.
Maybe 7. I'm slow and old.
That's what you need to be able to do. Yes, exactly. But Green Valley Decorative Rock Star of the game, I'm going to go with Caleb Love. I thought Caleb, again, there's a lot of games where he's 4 of 14, but Caleb Love dominated down the stretch, and Arizona was up. And I will say this, when he's shooting free throws, you have a really good sense, no matter what time they are, that they're going to go in.
Can I give you an alternate?
Yeah, what do you got? Of
and
course.
He's built like a rock.
Yeah.
Tobe Awaka.
All right, I like it.
14 points, 10 rebounds, 5 for 5 shooting, 1 for 1 behind the arc, 3 for 3 from the line. He was perfect. He only had 1 turnover and 1 foul as well.
Yeah, I mean,
and probably should have been the guy throwing the inbound pass in.
Yeah, I mean, probably should not have been that. Yeah, for sure. Tobe is good. Tobe is really good. Also, east to Sierra Vista, south to Nogales, north to Oracle, west to Marana. All right, now, that's your Green Valley Decorative Rock Star of the game. You know what's weird too, Brad, is that the defense, this team has played pretty tough. I think this team's played pretty tough this whole season. This game never felt good, though. I never felt good about it.
No, and I'll tell you that I think the good news for Arizona is BYU basically played the same game they did against Kansas.
Right.
At least offensively. And Arizona was 1 play away, whereas Kansas got run off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, BYU is just hot right now, and they're hot behind the arc, and they've got guys who can shoot. So they're not a great matchup for Arizona when they're shooting. They're not a good matchup for anyone you're shooting like that. Let's be honest.
Right.
But Arizona's more talented than they are, so they should win.
Right.
So that's what's disappointing. And again,
now, look at this. He says, this game is, who is that? Oh, that wasn't nice. This game felt as bad as Mike Luke's voice. Be nice to me. I'm playing hurt right now. Being nice. Now, let's talk a little bit about KJ Lewis. He was in there. KJ to me there's a lot of Pella Larson in KJ, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but KJ does a lot of really good things. KJ also does some really silly things out on the court. He's got to lead the nation in 3-point fouls. There's got to be 7 or 8 of them this season.
I think he probably leads the nation in 2 categories, and one is fouling 3-point shooters, and the other is interceptions leading to uncontested layups.
Yeah, I mean, it really is odd because he does a lot of really good things, but man, he does some really silly things.
And again, he wasn't awful tonight. 2 turnovers, I can live with that, especially because I think he had 5 assists.
Right.
But some of his turnovers are just perplexing as well. Not tonight again, but overall, yeah.
Right. And you just really don't get it. So it's kind of like, all right, well, it's just going to keep happening.
But I'll take that trade-off.
Right.
Whereas, again, Trey Townson, 2 good plays tonight, 7 bad plays.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and so the people telling me, they're like, oh, Trey had a great game. I mean, well, I guess no. I don't really see that. Okay. KJ tries to do too much. Guess you could make that case. Pathetic like Luke. Yeah, I am pathetic. What's wrong with that?
No, look, we're getting excited over Trey Townson having 5 points and 5 rebounds.
2 of 5. I mean, is that really what we're talking about here?
He also had 2 or 3 rebounds ripped out of his hands again.
Yeah,
I mean
if that's the standard now, it's I don't know what to say.
I mean, to me, if KJ Lewis gets 5 rebounds, it's a non-story, and you're sometimes playing 2 guard.
Yeah.
Look, yeah, I mean, again, Townsend just did. Again, give him all the credit in the world. That defense on that last play was phenomenal. The only, maybe the only criticism, he slightly slid with the hip at the very end, and because Tony Padilla is whistle happy from midcourt, he called it from behind the play, but it wasn't a foul. I can see what he could have done to prevent it, but he did it right. But then he threw an interception.
So. No cap. With this team, I'm ready for March. I think we play non-conference teams. Cats can make it ugly. The conference plays defense most nights. I mean, yeah, it is. And BYU, I will say this, BYU is a team that while, a lot of those were tough shots. A lot of those that they did make were tough shots, but they clearly knew exactly, they knew they had a game plan coming into this game. It does bother me a little bit, and this happened against BYU a lot too, that you've got guys that are fairly unathletic that are still kind of able to get to where they want on the court. The pick and roll defense to me just doesn't make a ton of sense. I don't really.
No, the pick and roll defense is what's perplexing because again, I think overall BYU is athletic enough that I don't feel bad when a couple of those guys get to the lane. But I do when they misplay, Arizona plays the pick and roll like they do. And I guess that's the good and bad news because BYU was able to take what happened in Provo, tweak the game plan, and come out and play offensively, at least, a phenomenal game plan.
Right.
The good news is not every team in the NCAA tournament can A, shoot like that, and B, even run the pick and roll like that. Where I think you are probably getting worried is if you get a team second weekend working the pick and roll, for 4 straight days coming into the Arizona Sweet 16 game. Because unless they're a normal pick and roll team, it's not the hardest thing, but it's really hard if that's not a normal part of your offense to implement in 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever it is. Right. And in the first round, Arizona should be getting a team they're just better than. But yeah, Sweet 16, you get the wrong matchup, you could exploit it because there is that's kind of the, to me, the game plan is pick and roll Arizona to death and try to force them to shoot beyond the arc.
Right, exactly. Bridge Tech Communications. Oh, very generous. I love Lloyd, but this was one of the worst coaching from him I've seen of him ever. They ran the same play off of timeouts for open threes, Trey at the end for D, and the pick and roll of Love. The pick and roll of Love and a walk-up by Denham killed us. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that I think was frustrating is that it just kept happening. It kept happening every single time down the court, and you kind of knew that it was going to happen. Javante said, appreciate the contribution. Javante said the pick and roll defense is so inconsistent. Sometimes they hedge hard, and sometimes they play lazy drop coverage. A good three-point shooting team is not the team for lazy drop coverage. Yeah, very well put.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's legit. I want to go to Alex. Go. Why do you think they're not making the Sweet 16?
Because I think a lot of people are prisoners of the moment.
I mean,
Why can't they make the Sweet 16?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying guaranteed lock. Put your mortgage on it, but Arizona is 13-4 in the second best, if not the second best conference in the country.
Right.
They're going to be a likely 4 seed. So yeah, maybe. Could they lose to a 5? Yeah, absolutely, they could lose to a 5 seed. But to be like stop, I would still say Arizona is probably a some favorite, but slight favorite to make the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I mean, and that's.
They just traded blows with. I believe Houston is probably the 3rd best team in America right now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Arizona was completely their equal.
Right. Yes, Arizona.
At least for 38 minutes. So
now, granted, I think if that was on a neutral court. Oh, one thing that I do want to say here, and this is going to go viral. Arizona fans, if you were one of the people that were chanting "F you, the Mormons," dude, get a life. Get an absolute life. That is disgusting. I don't get, people like that. People like that suck. I don't know what else to say.
If you bring race, legit family issues, I don't mean like, what was it? The when they tricked the Duke fans into chanting the guy's like thinking it was his girlfriend's name and it was Myron Piggy, whatever. But no, if you bring someone's sick mom into something, if you bring Luke's dead wife into something, if you bring Steve Kerr's dead, if you go racial, you go religion, you go sexual orientation, you're either a scumbag, stupid, or both.
Right. Don't be a scumbag.
If you want to be clever.
Right.
But yeah, don't come on.
Don't be a scumbag. That's the best way that I can put it. Don't be.
And honestly, I know BYU fans. It happened at Arizona Stadium when the football team has come here in the past. I actually know someone who was escorted out of the stadium for Mormon slurs. Someone I like, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? I don't care how drunk you are.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. That's
if you're drunk, if you're blaming you being drunk for being racist, sexist, homophobic.
Well, right, and yes,
it's not the alcohol talking; it's the alcohol loosening what's already on your lips.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of where I'm at. No, I'm not LDS.
I've never dropped an N-bomb because I was drunk. I've never dropped an N-bomb. Yeah, it doesn't slip out.
Right, and I'll say this. Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. You don't get people that are, how do I put this? It's like the guy that says, well, I only beat my wife because I was, I was drunk. No, dude, you're a piece of crap. And guess what? That just, like I said, that just allowed that to come through there. So don't do that. It's sports. At the end of the day, that's sports. Leave it at that.
I mean, if you start singing bad show tunes because you're drunk, then that's one thing.
Right. Oh, I do that all the time.
If you're Mike Luke and start, telling me how great of a defender Chris Rogers was when you're drunk, he probably does that sober. But no, unfortunately, sometimes alcohol reveals people's true character.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the people in the student section, then you're all putzes. Whoever said that, yes, you're a putz. One guy made a really interesting point to me one time. He said, 95% of those people would never say that to anybody's face.
Isn't that true of most?
Yeah. No, they just wouldn't.
The things I have had sent to me, and I'm not message boarding anymore, but when the message board wars and I was on the wrong side of some sites, you should have heard emails I got.
Right.
People, when the magazine went under, people like cheering that I was maybe out of a job, even though I wasn't. I'm like, really? You like your website so much you hope that me and my infant children don't have a paycheck?
Yeah. Right.
Had someone found out something personal about my wife and I. They weaponized it against me. Just I know Shears had some of the same thing. If you remember Gary Randazzo, who I used to work with, someone referenced an illness he had. That guy that guy's now just sailing on a yacht somewhere. Being a jerk.
Yeah.
Again, if you're getting personal, just stop.
Right. Stop.
Again, what do you always say? It's a game. It's just sports.
It's sports. It's the toy section of society. Don't be a jerk. All right. Now let's get to the signature Pest solution, Pest of the game. I don't know who I'm going to really put for Arizona on that one because I don't think Arizona played very good defense.
Sadly, can we give it to Trey for that last play?
I get, you know what? We are going to give it. How about this is Lost Highway, who we're not totally sure isn't Trey Townson or somebody in the family. Lost Highway, we are going to give it. We are going to give this to Trey Townson because of that last defensive performance. That was good. I thought he played good defense. I don't really have a problem with it. Signature Pest Solutions. That was your Pest of the game, Trey Townson, for that play. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, let's give it to him.
Right.
The only good defense of the night.
Yeah, it was the only good defense of the night. Yes. So that's where I'm going to go. Signature Pest Solutions. That is your Trey Townsend. How about that? All right. Now, looking ahead a little bit. Can we get Sean Miller back? There's this and it perplexes me. Sean Miller did a lot of really good things at Arizona. I don't understand the kind of the revisionist history. That thing had run its course. You hadn't won a tournament game in 5 years or 4 years.
He had an amazing start to not only his Arizona career, his tournament career.
Right.
He was something like 6-2 at Xavier or whatever it was, 6-3. Right. And then he comes to Arizona and goes to what? in his first 4 tournaments. Is it 3 Elite Eights and Sweet 16?
Right.
And then won like 3 games the rest of the time.
Right.
So, and again, here's my thing. Despite what happened in my career, in part because of Sean Miller, Sean Miller
Yes.
is an awesome system coach.
Right.
Who decide not to bring in players who fit his system.
Right. Yeah, that it didn't make any sense. But again, like Andy Bryant says, the great Andy Bryant, he was great at the beginning. In the last 5 to 6 years, I think people have a revisionist history of what it was. It's okay here. It is what it is. And I like people. I just tweeted this out, and I like and no, I'm not LDS. I have nobody in my family is LDS. I am not LDS. And guess what? Even if I was LDS, you still shouldn't say it. How about that?
You know what? If Notre Dame comes to town or St. Mary's, you shouldn't do it to Catholics. If there's a Jewish player out there, you shouldn't do it to Jewish players.
Right.
If there is a Muslim, a Buddhist, maybe an atheist,
sports,
because the atheist guy won't care.
Right.
Just it's classless. And again, you can pick and choose. Like, this person in this religion was a bad dude. Okay.
Right.
So how does that affect the 17 fans behind their bench who have done nothing wrong?
Right. It has nothing to do with that. Okay. Now let's talk Carter Bryant here. That's some of the comments. I'm in the NIL era. Here's where I'm at. I do believe that with what he could get paid, he should come back. And the reason why is I never really subscribed to the theory that some people would say, well, you're not ready or whatever. The NBA doesn't draft on that. My problem. Yeah, but my problem though with Carter is that I love Carter, but Carter is not even close. Carter is not even close to being, he can't handle the ball at all. He can't really defend much because he's a hacker. He has, and his feel for the game right now, I think he would get overwhelmed in any NBA practice, to be honest. And I love Carter. I think he's going to have a great career. It's just not right now.
Here's where I'm at with Carter. One, if there was no NIL, then maybe it makes sense to go now, because you're probably going second half of the first round. You're probably landing on a good team. You're probably playing up and down, with some or you riding the bench and learning.
Right.
And getting paid to do it.
Right.
He'll make more at Arizona than he will going 25th, or maybe not more, but probably, and he has a chance to move into the lottery.
Right.
Will you make great? Now, are you going to, do you maybe get drafted by a bad team? Maybe, but who knows anymore? Everyone throws their draft picks everywhere. You could win the NBA championship and somehow wind up with like the 8th pick, just because teams are trading picks so far out now. Right.
Yeah. And that, and that's kind of, he needs to come back. That's kind of where I'm at. Let's talk Jaden Bradley a little bit. Jaden Bradley is, he's not playing nearly as well. He's not playing, I don't believe that's still currently the deal, WMB, whatever. But Jaden Bradley, he's got to play better. He's been really, really good for the majority of this season. I do wonder to a certain degree, is he wearing down? Or what is it? Because he just doesn't look like the same player.
And I think that's a legit thing, because he's playing how many minutes a game right now? I mean, it's Jason Gardner minutes, but Jason Gardner was kind of he played 36 tonight.
Right.
Which oddly enough wouldn't even seem high, but he was fine tonight. He was good, but he was great for most of the season. And if you're wearing out, this is again why you've got to steal him some more rest here and there. Again, I don't want to see a lot of Conrad Martinez, but at the 8:15 mark of the first half, bring them in, and then it's because it's 2 possessions. Then you go into a TV timeout, and suddenly you've got 4 or 5 minutes of rest. That stuff like that. Just find that little places where you can bring them in, and because I think he is wearing down a bit.
Yeah, and again, he's let's see here. Disappointed in Tommy, Dick Wilson. Disappointed in Tommy for not backing his player when asked about Padilla's call. If he's worried about being fined, I'll start a GoFund. I mean, it was a bad call. It was a bad call. You don't make that call. My biggest problem with Tony Padilla has always been I always feel like Tony Padilla tries to make the game kind of about Tony Padilla. He was like you said, he made that call, the Caleb Love one. He then blew or the and one. He was the one that comes out of there. That was not his position to make that call. That was the trail ref that should have made that.
Okay, I have a question for you. Let's
What's
say
that?
Tommy goes scorched earth on Tony Padilla, or just the officiating crew, the 3-man crew. What happens next time they play, and that's their crew?
No, I get it. It's a double-edged sword. I get it.
I mean, do I think you have to be vocal about it? Yes, I think you do. But
Right.
I don't think you can go scorched earth on it. And we all want to. I get it. I mean, someone mentioned above what are some of the classic all-time bad calls. And most of them were no calls, but people are still talking about the goaltending in stores. People are still talking about the no fourth foul on Jason Williams, where he rode Jason Gardner like a luge. But you have to be careful, or you become public enemy number one.
Right.
And for a while, Sean Miller was. There was apparently a reward system for people who tee up Sean Miller to go to Mexico.
Let me ask you this though. At some point though, Mr. Tyler Warden, he says, "I wholly disagree. Give me a he touched the ball moment." Let me ask you this. I still think it's kind of bizarre, to be honest with you, that Tommy never really called out Bobby Hurley in any way, shape, or form for
that I would agree with,
for commenting on his player. I've never seen that. And Tommy didn't say anything about it. In this situation, maybe how do I put this? If I don't know. Like I said, I'm not the guy. I don't really like the screaming and the screaming and all of that, and the swearing. That doesn't really do anything for me. But at the same time, you could have a middle ground. It doesn't always just have to be, well, I don't really want to get into anything here.
Well, again, he made without having seen the video.
Right.
I don't know, because he apparently made a little joke about it, made a little comment about it. I don't know. Maybe he was so Tommy, for lack of a better word, that it loses all effect.
Right.
He did bring it up, and I like that, but I don't think you need to go full scorched earth, especially prior to the Big 12 tournament, the stretch around the Big 12, because he touched the ball happened after getting bounced from the Pac-12 tournament, and you weren't going to see those refs for a year.
Right.
Yeah, but no, I agree with you. He should have said something about Bobby calling out his players and Bobby being a little, the word. Yeah, that I think he did not handle well enough. And someone said, what would Miller have done? Miller would have gone a little more scorched earth. He probably would have picked up a T out there, but I don't think he would have gone as crazy as you think he would have.
Yeah, but again,
Sean wasn't Mike Stoops or Rich Rodriguez crazy. He wasn't Bobby Hurley, Mick Cronin crazy. He was crazy. He would sweat shit through the shirt. He'd berate an official, but he wasn't outrageous.
Right. Yes. It's just kind of, that's just kind of the way it is. Now going forward then, let's get to the Arizona primary eye care assist of the game. Again, I'm playing a little bit injured. I do apologize. Hopefully voice will all be back on Monday. The assist of the game. Well, Arizona had a lot of assists. You could put that out there. BYU, their assist too. They really moved the ball as well. I don't know really what else. I don't know that there's one assist that really kind of steps into my mind. What do you say?
Was there a lob to Vasar this game, or was that off a missed shot? I can't remember now.
Right. Yeah.
Can we just go Arizona primary eye care for Tony Padilla so you can see better?
Yes, exactly. Oh, that's a good one. The Arizona primary eye care for Tony Padilla. Yes, I like that one. He gets the we need to get him glasses. Cheryl, that's for you. I do like that one. The lob one was good as well. I do like that one. Let's see here. Both. Okay. Now, going forward then, you got Arizona playing Utah. You need to smack the heck out of Utah. Because then you got Iowa State, then you got ASU. You got to smack the heck out of Utah, period.
You have two now absolute must-wins, and it's ASU, it's Utah. And I think you've got to smack them. I think you're right. Because if you lose one of those, it means you're in a bad shape because Arizona has lost 3 or 4.
Right.
I mean, yes, I still think they're going to probably have a great, I think they have about a 55%, 60% chance of going to Sweet 16, but they're scuffling again at the wrong time. Because if you lose one of those, you're probably losing both of the last road games, and you're probably looking at a 6 or 7 instead of a 4.
Right.
3. I don't know if the 3 is possible because they're going to have 7 SEC teams in getting 3 seeds. So,
right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and I'm still not sure how good the SEC is. Make Martinez play 30 minutes for Utah. Give Bradley a rest. But that's also something too that Tommy did. Let's see here. Mr. Tyler Warden says, I hate that I'm typing this, but Jaden is 30% from 3. Kylan and we're both 30%. Yeah, he can get to the rack, but he can't stretch the floor and he's turning it over. He's also a significantly better defensive player than both of those guys.
Yeah. And how many points per game does Arizona score with those guys?
Yeah. I mean, you're right.
Again, I don't need my point guard to be a great scorer.
Right.
Yes, I'd like him to hit those wide open threes. That's bad. I mean, it's bad. He's not perfect.
Right.
He's not top 10 Arizona all-time point guard.
Right.
But you want Kylan Boswell right now, really?
Right.
The guy whose team just lost by like 117 points to Duke.
Right. Yeah. Do you really
how many minutes a game Kirk Kriisa playing at Kentucky, who's not as good as Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, come on, that's not really where I'm.
Jaden Bradley's flawed. Yeah, he's also maybe the best point guard Arizona's had since T.J. McConnell.
Did we watch Illinois tonight? We want Boswell. No. Yeah, by the way, Illinois, he still lost by 800 points. Okay. Now, let's see here. You got ASU, Utah. You got to win both those games. Period. Point blank, like you just said, Brad. You got to win both those games. I think the thing that was very disappointing about this game, though, is that you get the nice win against Baylor at Baylor in a tough environment, and then you turn around and give it right back with this loss. I think that's the part that's disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, again, this isn't as bad a loss as, well, maybe because it's Kansas State, but yeah, this is a team that you're better than. You proved it in Provo, and then you get them at home, and again, they shot lights out. Yes, I get it, the bad call, I get it, but you need, it's not an awful loss, but it's not a good loss, no.
Right. Yeah, it's and again, BYU's good. BYU, if they win a couple games, it would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, I mean, BYU's a tournament team.
Right. I mean,
again, how good it's gonna be, how they shoot, who they match up against. But yeah, they could that's absolutely a team that can win a game or two in the NCAA tournament. It's also a team that could, get beat in the first round. Yeah, but that's true of anyone probably not in the top 3 of their conference.
Yeah. All right. And Kansas is obviously that you got Iowa State. Here's the thing. You can also say that, that this is it's a tough loss for sure. 13 turnovers on 22 points. The great Grant Winkler puts that well. That's the game. That's the game right there. 13 turnovers for 22 points.
That and 45% behind the arc.
Yes.
Yeah. Those are the two things.
Right.
Because Arizona scored 95 points and lost.
Right. That's just kind of letdown loss, a hallmark of Arizona basketball. I'm just conditioned at this point. Not surprising. Same old, same old. I mean, honestly though, like you gotta look at it though and say it's still good to be an Arizona basketball fan. I don't quite get that one.
I don't know. Is this a team that did not have 1 and 2 seeds just 3 years ago? Or?
Yeah, I mean, and how well did that really, how well did that really last? I mean,
yes, it happens. It happens to most non-elite team. And this team's not elite. This is a very good basketball team who lost to a good basketball team. Disappointing loss, yes. But this isn't losing to ASU. This isn't you losing to UCF. This isn't some of those Oregon State Thursday night losses with 7 guys in the crowd and 3 of them are playing Dungeons and Dragons in row 7 because it's quieter than their dorm room.
Oregon State, yeah, exactly.
This is a good BYU team. Should they have won at McHale? No. Is it disappointing because it's going to cost Arizona probably a 3 seed? Yeah, but I'm far more concerned that even if they won, that it was a blueprint for how to beat Arizona in the tournament.
Yeah, and that's I think that's kind of where it's at. Now, let's we got the RJ's frozen cactus moment of the game. That was the terrible call on Trey Townson. That was the game right there. You can't make that call. Len Brad, I thought you made an interesting point where you go, that would that's not ever a foul call. Period. Like it's not one of those ones where you're like, well, you can't call it at this point. That's just not a foul call, period.
No, it wasn't foul. And oddly enough, I think if he hits rim, it's not. They don't call it.
Right.
His shot was so bad it helped by the call.
Yeah, and I think that's what Jeremiah Dibble, the great Jeremiah Dibble, said was 3 rows back. One of the best live games I've been to. Sad ending. 4 seed at best now. 4. I think you could still possibly get a 3.
No, I can't see his name because it's under a super snap. But someone said that they get a 3 seed with 3 straight wins. If you get Iowa State and Kansas, yeah, I mean, crazy as it is, you win out and you win the Big 12 tournament, you probably play your way into it too. It's not happening, but you know, yeah, there's still some scenarios. But no, you're probably a 4 or 5 at this point.
Yeah, and honestly, that's this team is here's where I'm at too. This team is good. This team is also flawed. There's really no other way to put it. This team is flawed. Look at it. Arizona. Yeah, go ahead, Brad.
This is a team that is capable of making a mini run, but sooner rather than later, you're going to have to pull up a pretty serious upset.
Right.
This isn't Arizona as a 2 seed falling to, Princeton, where the path was there to get to, no, you're going to, you're either going to be playing in the second weekend early, you're either probably going to be playing a 2 or a 1 pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that's where it's at. Great game, go Cougs, go Cat. I mean, it is what it is. This team also, when you look at it though, this team is going to have ugly games that they're going to play. They're going to play, and we'll see if they're equipped for it or not. I don't know if they necessarily are, but we will see that. We'll see if they're equipped for it.
Here's another one though that's funny, and someone because our buddy Matthew, since it's at a 4 or 5 seed in the East, they were a 3 seed in the East for a lot of this week.
Right.
Does falling a seed line or 2 get you back in the West?
Yeah, exactly. I don't
know.
I think right.
Again, I don't know if it matters anymore, but something to think about.
Yeah, it is something to think about. All right, now
then you're probably playing Florida in the in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, fun. Yeah. But like I said, if you just go into it and just know that it's a good team, it's a flawed team, I think it's a little bit easier to deal with. Now, let's see here. Only non-call that compared to this is the atrocity was Mustafa getting mugged mid-court final minute. I do agree with that, but Arizona, Mustafa was also giving the ball away though too. He was mugged, but Arizona kind of gave that one his way as well.
Yeah, I mean that one's right up there. Yeah, there's one that no one talks about because it was a great game, but it wasn't a big game. Arizona is at Pauley and puts up kind of a desperation shot. Channing Frye grabs the rebound, and his arm is grabbed as he's trying to put up. And would it have gone? I have no idea.
Right.
I had a guy next to me who knows a lot about college basketball. His name was Bill Frieder.
Right.
And he looks at me and goes, "That's a foul." Right. And he's like, "And there's no way they're going to call it."
Right.
So I thought that one's always stuck out to me because I was getting to pick Bill's brain a lot that game. It was also the game where Bill offered Bill Walton the seat next to me because Bill Walton was getting hounded by fans. He was watching as a fan, and Bill wanted to sit by his family. But yeah. So that one. There's again, most of them are going to be no calls that are bad calls. And even the goaltending was so close that I'm not sure if you had replay then they would have overturned it. No. I don't think it was, but I'm biased. But yeah, the no calls, the Gardner no call, the several no calls, the Channing getting hit in the face by Illinois no call. But yeah, it happens. It's college basketball. It's, Arizona's gotten away with some too over the years.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Now we got one more. The Aris Dental look ahead then. Utah, Arizona's got to get right in this game. Arizona's got to smack Utah. Utah's not very good. You need to smack Utah, period. Also hit the like button. Yeah. You got to smack Utah, Brad. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, they've got to whop them. Is that what we're doing here? Is that
what we are doing? Whop.
And if you're, against Utah, you got to bare your teeth, your perfectly manicured teeth from Aris Dental. Arizona's got to go, and they got to beat the heck out of them. And they probably have to against ASU too, because again, you have two really tough games to close out the season. Again, Kansas is flawed, but you're playing at Fog. It's the best place I've ever seen a basketball game, and it's on senior night. And before that, you're playing Iowa State, who's really, really good and who wants revenge, and who frankly was better than you at McHale.
Right.
And so there you go.
Right.
Got to get these two.
Yep, that's where we're at. All right, everybody. I am going to try to rest my voice, so I'm all ready for Monday. I sounded like crap, but I do appreciate you all. Everybody hit the like button. All right, we'll be back with you on Monday. Again, it is just a game. You don't need to get into, racial and religious stuff. It is a game at the end of the day. Okay, all right. For William Brad Alice, I am merely Mike Luke. You have been listening to the AZ12 podcast.